This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening, everybody. This is the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership Committee. It is Thursday, September 28th, and it is 6:02 p.m. Welcome. Jackie just sent the notes from August like a couple minutes ago. So I don't know if, oh, here comes Lindsay. I don't know if folks want to take a second and look those over so that we could try to approve those tonight. I looked at them super briefly.
I think they're perfect.
I thought they looked pretty good. But I'll give everybody a couple minutes just to lift through it.
Other than I'm reminded that I volunteered to look at lot requirements and stuff, and I didn't do that. But otherwise, it looks good.
That's all right.
But yeah, I'll certainly. I can move to approve the minutes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Great. Approved. Excellent. Okay. So we are joined this evening by One Industrial Loft. So Mike Michon is here, and some folks from, I think, Home City Housing have joined us. So I want to welcome them. And I know, Mike, you have to hop off relatively soon. So I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Good evening, all.
Hello.
So what we wanted to finally touch base, with you personally, and so you can see and meet the group from Home City that will be working with us on this affordable housing venture that we're getting close on. I guess with that, I'm not sure, is it Peter or Rich who's gonna, or both?
Or both. So
yeah,
I'll introduce myself. I'm Richard Kingston. I'm the Deputy Executive Director with Home City Development out of Springfield. And I was joined with Peter, but the pressure, too much pressure apparently. He'll be back on. So yeah, Mike, thanks. And I appreciate you guys asking us to come. I mean, we just kind of want to run through what Home City is, what we do, the work that we do, and then really introduce the project, just to get familiar with, kind of what we're trying to accomplish, and then, take any questions you have. If you don't mind, can I pop the screen up real quick?
Oh, sure. Hold on. How do I do that, Jamie?
You're going to have to make him a co-host.
Oh, over here. Sorry, Google Meet is not my
Google Meet. Yeah, whoever's hosting the meeting, there's a little button down at the bottom. There you go.
All right,
Perfect.
great.
Thank you. Yeah, so give me 1 second. And
Is it being recorded?
It is being recorded. Is that Shira?
Yeah.
Okay.
great. So everybody
Hi.
hopefully can see our beautiful presentation here.
Yes, we can see it.
So Home City's been around for 50 years, and mostly focused on affordable development in and around the Springfield area. We've had a really good track record of providing affordable housing. That's all we do. We're a nonprofit. We're recently awarded a CDC designation, and again, our primary focus is building affordable housing. We have also expanded our multifamily business over the last couple of years into the single family housing business as well. So we're getting close to 500 units in total right now in the greater Springfield area. We do historic rehabs, we do new construction. We're doing a 40 unit single family condo project right now. It's called the Gemini Project in Springfield. And we're also doing 10 single family homes in Springfield, all focused on, folks at or below 80% AMI. So we really run the gamut of, communities for folks that receive subsidies through Section 8, through vouchers, through the Public Housing Agency, is up to tax credit, state and federal tax credit programs, which usually cater to folks at or below 60% AMI. Here's a list of our development projects since 2008. If Peter was here, he would love to talk about Amethyst Brook, and which is a 34-unit mixed income project in Pelham that we are actually breaking ground on in the next 2 weeks. So we're super excited about that. All funded under several different layers, but mostly under the tax credit program. We also participate a bunch in community development and social service programs. So currently right now, we designate most of our buildings to having some kind of community space that can be used, without cost to different neighborhood groups, different agencies. We partner a lot with Wayfinders and some other groups to hold educational classes, healthcare classes, financial literacy classes. We also sponsor a youth leadership program. We do a youth development program. We have an after school program at one of our communities. So not only are we developers and property owners, I really see us as community activists in the work that we do. Our resident engagement program is really a direct service program to our residents within our communities. And that allows us to really provide case management to some of our most vulnerable residents. We cater to a lot of folks that are coming out of alcohol and, drug use, have some mental health issues, just a very vulnerable population. So we try to couple housing with the ability to provide social services for them to be the most successful. We do some of the in-house, and then we partner with outside agencies as well. And that was just a quick snapshot of us. I'm not really sure if you've seen kind of what we're proposing there, but, we have a 5-story community, and right now, just because of some of the limitations in the state financing program, it's really between 70 and 90 units. And the reason of such a broad range is traditionally in Massachusetts, you can only get financed for about 60 or 70 units at max. Most projects are 30 to 40 units under the current structure. And what we're trying to accomplish here is being able to go back to the state and say, listen, like if you want to really fix this problem and put a dent in the needs, the scale has to increase. And this community itself lends a really great opportunity for us to do that. The site with Mike's partnership, we're so lucky to have a private investor and developer that's willing to come to us and say, hey, we really want to build affordable housing. I believe in affordable housing. Let's figure out how to bring it to Easthampton. So here's a quick idea of what it looks like. Here's the site layout. There's currently a building on portion of the site, but once that building's torn down, this is pretty close to what the final view of the site's going to be. It'll be entrance off the street, and then with a drive around the building, it'll be built up on a podium, so it'll also have parking below the building available for the residents, and it's right on the canal. And then the overarching goal is to connect this to the rest of the Ferry Street properties that Mike has already developed. So that's just a quick run through, more on the kind of nitty gritty of the actual development, and some of the things that we would love to be able to partner with you on is, if I can get this to stop sharing. I think I've stopped sharing, right? Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. And Mike can kind of talk a little bit about what his goals and his perspective is really quick, and why this is important to him as a developer, because I think it's, one of the things that we looked at, and we don't do a lot of partnerships with private developers. And frankly, it's because they don't have the same mission in mind that we do. But one of the attractive things to us in trying to accomplish this with Mike is his passion for building affordable housing, and his understanding of the structural problems that exist in fixing this problem. So Mike, do you want to share just a minute or two about kind of like, why affordable housing is important to you?
Sure. Thank you, Rich. And that was a good way you laid it out here for the whole team here. So, again, at the very beginning, when this project got going back in, when I saw this happen in 2017, the idea was to have an affordable component, over the whole campus of the mill complex, and I think a few of you may have been there way back when, right? And we talked about it, and we tried really hard with with Mass Housing, with their program, and just nothing seemed to fit to make financially to make this work for everybody, for all the parties. So, after doing more and more investigative work, I got a hold of Rich and Tom and Peter and talked about, kind of a vision for the campus site. And, hence really the perfect partnership has really hopefully come together here, as long as, again, and I have to always preface this, nobody has a crystal ball. And with your support and with your help, you can help us get us, hopefully get us to the finish line, because there are some holes in the system, and for the financial system, and they have to be fixed. And we're going to go gangbusters here, but again, we need the city's, all of the city's support, and all of our our senators and our representatives to help push this to the finish line.
Yeah. And I can't stress enough, like, I've been fortunate to develop all over the country, right? And Massachusetts has a unique issue, right? And their unique issue is, despite the amount of money that they have to focus on affordable housing, there is such limitations on the availability of funds, where, if I've worked in Connecticut and Ohio and LA and New York and all these other places, they don't have the same limitations to say, hey, listen, you're going to get $1 million in tax credits. And, we know, Peter and I know, that the amount of equity that's generated from those tax credits really equates to like 38, 39 units. So we have to layer on multiple sources, and, probably stuff that you're all familiar with, multiple sources in order to make this work. And sometimes it still doesn't work. You can go from, 38 to 40 to 50 fairly easy, but, 50 units of affordable housing is one thing, right? And I think that, we do a disservice to the community of saying, hey, we're just going to build 50 units of affordable housing. We want 50 units of affordable housing, and we want 40 units of market rate housing as well, because, the missing middle that exists nowadays is the folks that are between 80 and 120 and 150% AMI who can't afford housing. And frankly, like, speaking for myself and working from a nonprofit, if I had to live in that area, I don't know if I could afford housing, right? So, we have an obligation to say, okay, here's our resources, and here's the work that we do really well. And we focus on that 60% AMI and below. And with partnerships like we have with Mike, we can say, okay, you know what? We can fulfill our mission and goal, but we can also have a farther reaching grasp of, really finding homes for folks in that 60 to 120% AMI, and frankly above, because that's really what creates solid communities and blended communities, and brings a different perspective to housing, so that way, for a community, which is important, you don't want to say, oh, that's affordable housing over there. We don't want to say that's housing for our community. That's our labor force. That's our workforce. That's the people that have committed to live in our community. And that's what we want to be a part of. And that's why we're so excited. And frankly, though, we can't do it without the city's help. We can't do it without your help, because this is frankly something new in Western Mass. There isn't a lot of projects to this size, but caveat that as well, there are already a ton of interest from, CDAC, which is a lending arm that supports affordable housing. We have a meeting with DHCD, EOHLC, I forgot their new acronym, coming up next week. So there's a ton of interest, because we are bringing forth something and saying, hey, listen, like, we can build this at a smaller scale, but that doesn't solve our problem. Let's come on. It's time for us to move forward and move these issues forward in order for us to really solve this problem. And I can't think of a better location. Any questions, concerns? Like, what's your first thoughts to this?
I think we're thrilled that there's the possibility of affordable housing in the development, because, we have been talking about this. I guess, can you just give us I feel like I'm still not clear, like, how many units and what's the bedroom mix? What's the, like, do you have those details? I know, Mike, you went to
Sure.
the planning board to get
Yeah.
changes
Yeah.
to the building, but if you could just give us some more of those
Sure,
details.
sure, sure.
Right.
And I guess, Rich, why don't you just go with, so our goal is to try to get 90 plus units. So if we succeed, Rich, go ahead. Why don't you give the kind of the
Yeah.
breakdown of what you're.
I mean, I think again, like I feel under the normal circumstances with affordable housing right now, we can build 70 units. The problem is the majority of those units are going to be affordable units, and they're going to be 1 and 2 bedrooms. They're going to be for folks at or below 60% AMI. And then some of those units will be, even either have a deeper subsidy. I think it's only 4 that will either have vouchers or Section 8 vouchers associated with it. And that's kind of the basic, this is what we can do, right? What we want to do is to really build 90 to 96 units that have, 60% affordable, the balanced market rate with a, similar small amount for a very vulnerable population, including, housing for veterans, folks that, might have some higher social service needs, folks that either are coming out of chronic street homelessness or something else, that have some wraparound services dedicated to it. Because, I've been doing this for 30 years, right? The highest success rates are, having pockets of support services in larger in larger communities that folks can have interaction, with all socioeconomic, people. It just works. It works really well in most cities, and it will work very well there.
So when you say 90 to 96 affordable with the balanced market rate, so how many units will be in the whole building?
Well, 96 is the goal. So 96 is the goal. 60% of that 96 will be affordable.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
I just had a quick question. Thank you for the presentation, Richard. I was just wondering, you talked about like how like this is a unique project for the Valley or for this region. Is the fact that it's mixed income one of the aspects that makes it unique, or is this kind of an educational thing for me? Is that a kind of a novel concept, and does that impact financing, or is that something that's typical?
No, the mixed income side is not new. It's the scale of it that is new. Most new communities, they're either all affordable with different variations of affordable, or they have, they're 90% affordable with 10% market rate, right? So, it's very seldom in Massachusetts that you're seeing, 40% market rate units within a community. And normally it's because there's not enough rent. So they don't generate enough rent to support the debt in order to build it, right? So, and we're in a unique situation is that we do have the supporting rents in order to afford the debt. And then, Mike and I have talked, and Peter have talked several times about, the potential to even have for sale units within the community, because, there's also a need there, and that also supports the debt needed in order to build the community. The uniqueness of this, and just in Massachusetts, is the scale. Is because POA, the community builders in Boston, they are able to do more projects like this in Eastern Mass, right? And then in a lot of the other markets in surrounding Massachusetts, they do these projects all the time because, something that may or may not be important is there's also long-term operating costs. And the smaller the community, the more expensive it is to run, and the less likely you can, keep it up to a certain standard that you and I would want. So in order to fix that, you have to have the scale in the community in order to have a diverse maintenance team and an on-site management team and an on-site social service team. So, that's why we're pushing so hard with this project to say, listen, we got to fix this problem. And again, I think, we have 4 different scenarios that we've already presented to say, to our investors, and say, listen, I don't think you're going to find somebody else that can figure this out better than us, but you need to help us get to this next level.
Yeah, so I guess let me just back up for a minute, Rich. So again, I guess just if you can just clarify, how many affordable units with the state regulations can we get for this project so everybody understands?
Well, I mean, on average, right, you can get around 40 units under the tax credit program by itself. And then you have to layer in other programs to support additional units. So a majority of our communities that we develop have 4, 5, 6 funding sources with independent regulations in order to make them work. That's a big issue, right? Because you have more regulations, you have more issues to overcome, and then the cost for the development goes way up because you're trying to manage all these programs on the front end. So if we can try to get 50 units, if we can get 60 units of affordable in this deal, I think we would be in a really good spot on the affordability side. It's just a matter of, does it support the debt? Can we figure out the sources and to make it happen? If we scale it down, all we're losing are market rate units and affordable units. We're losing all our market rate units right from the get-go. And then we're starting to lose affordable units. So again, like I no doubt we can get it built at 60 or 70 units, but that's going to be all affordable, and it's going to be mostly 60% or below AMI. And I don't really think that's what the community needs. I think the community needs more. I think, again, I'm a mission-minded man. I want affordable housing, right? But I think the city itself deserves and needs affordable and closer to market rate housing for folks.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I just wanted to, clarify, that, when an affordable project, and you folks may know this, it's not just like you can go in and get 96 units of affordability and turn around and start building it. It doesn't work that way. And again, there's all these, hurdles because the funding is not there. And it's that this is, again, the frustrating part from mass housing all the way through to, to the state. DHCD, et cetera. It's tough. It's very hard.
And it's a long road, right? I mean, on average, you're like 3 to 5 years in order to get these things out of the ground, which it's just like time is money, right? Unfortunately, Mike's got the carrying costs of this deal until it's done. And that's could be 3 to 5 years. And, the more restrictions and the more issues we run into getting the funding sources, the longer it kind of holds out. We have one community that we just finished last year that it was like a 10-year project, and it's all because of getting the funding sources and all these layers together. And gosh, again, I've been doing this 30 years. Like, the system has to change, but it takes projects like this to really force that change and really have folks recognize that there are different systems. And we're going to build a close to passive house building. We're planning on doing a modular project, which, lends itself to a much higher standard of construction. It'll have ERVs. It'll have almost a community solar level, roof to it. We're looking at a really large solar array, with, high-end finishes. Like, this is gonna be something we're all gonna be proud to live in and proud to be representative of our community.
Do any other members have questions? I have one more, but I want to make sure everyone has a chance. Yeah, go ahead, Kayam.
Yeah, so I know that this might be a calculation that the partnership can do, and this is a calculation that I do when answering questions from people in the community who hear affordable housing and want to know immediately, what does that mean in terms of not just percentages of AMI, but what are the actual rents going to be? And this might not be a question that you can answer right now, but I do think that in the future, helping us make the case to the community, it will be helpful to get those numbers out of your mouth. So we can quote that rather than us being trying to explain this complicated percentage AMI stuff that people's eyes just glaze over. So that's just one, I guess, statement. And then the question I had was specifically around, I guess I'm hearing there's a lot of difficulties that you guys are facing with getting this stitched up, and you're facing a lot of barriers at the state level funding wise. and you're asking for our help. So I guess I'm curious as to like what it is you want us to do as part of this process. How can we help you?
Sure. That's a great and we're happy. I usually try to go on the opposite and not bore people with definitive numbers, but I can share exactly what 60% AMI is and what that translates into rents. If Peter was on, Peter could probably recite it like that. But I'm happy to share kind of what that rental breakdown is for you once we're off the call. I think the biggest thing is just support and rallying around the project, right? Because, we need community support in order to generate enough interest and buzz with the state, federal government in order to move these things forward, right? And then, so that's the first and foremost. I think the other piece is that, it is going to take some city investment in order to make it work. It might not be direct investment into the construction, but, we are providing bike paths and public access and, it is tied to a bigger project. So maybe there's some infrastructure support that the city can provide. And, we can't do that without everyone's support. Every time I go to these projects, there's always folks that are, concerned with what we're doing. But the more interest we have and the more support we have from organizations like yours and the city, the easier it is for us to go forward. Because it's one more barrier we don't have to overcome. And, and frankly, again, if we're going to bring this to scale, we're going to need financial support from the city.
And just to clarify, Mike or Jamie, this project's already been permitted, right? So we don't need to go back to the planning board to have a public, this is our usual process around affordable housing is.
No.
For the planning board, there's a huge public hearing. We don't have to do that.
No, we're 100% shovel ready.
So have a huge advantage in that regard.
Yeah. So I was not present at the August meeting, but they did grant the approval for the amendment to the permit.
They did. We actually got a ZBA approval, and then we got a planning board approval.
Excellent. Yeah, because I think that's the big problem often is the getting past the permitting boards to permit these projects where we often find a lot of pushback from community. So that's great to hear.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think letters of support, that Rich and his team will need to, when he starts to file for the DHCD and the other applications he'll need to file, and maybe might even be grants that he'll be applying to. The more ammunition we have from folks like you, the mayor, the planner, everybody in the city, the more pressure we're going to put on these organizations.
I have one quick thing, which is often what we've done as the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership is to request CPA money that would help with the project for affordable housing. So that might be something you might want us to help with as well.
So thank you. So we did use a number that we have in our pro forma, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough, and I think I'll need to talk further to the mayor and others about that at another time, for sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just want to put out there. I do provide administrative staff to the support to the CPA committee. So just make sure that you reach out to me as well when you reach out to the mayor or CPA about that, so I can be involved in those conversations as far as CPA is concerned.
That's great, Jamie. Thank you. I didn't realize that. Thank you.
Yeah.
My last question just has to do with the management of the units. So will Home City be also the property manager for the property, or is that yet to be decided?
No, so we contract our management out to the Appleton companies as part of the O'Connell company, and they're actually taking over management of 100 plus of our communities right now. So yeah, they're an expert in affordable housing. They take care of all the compliance, the management. We have they would call it a special relationship where we are very much involved in the day-to-day piece of it, because the that direct interaction with the residents is so important to us. I visit sites almost every day. I'm involved in resident associations, and I meet with, because again, like, it's not just about providing housing for us. It's providing a complete hug of services and, work in order to make sure that the folks in our community are staying in our community, are thriving and excelling.
And is that a change? Did Home City used to do its own management? I feel like that's like,
yeah, nine years ago, it switched from Home City's internal management to HMR, and HMR has been our management agent until just recently. We're transitioning to Appleton currently.
All right, great. That's in my work life. That is what I'm most familiar with. So thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Sorry, one more quick thing. So in the past, Janet and I have been on this board for a very, very long time, and Appleton hasn't always had the best reputation. So I just want to at least say that out of my mouth to folks and ask you how you know that is no longer the case and won't be the case, because we have heard concerns about other properties under Appleton management.
Sure, and I appreciate that. We had a fairly lengthy RFP process, and again, I've been doing this for quite a while. There's nobody perfect in the property management business, but compared to the Dolbins and the Beacons and the Aimcos and some of the smaller management companies that we would be forced to go with if we didn't go with the Beacons, the Dolbins, the other companies. They couldn't provide the services that we need and the infrastructure support, right? Because it's not just about property management. It is about resident services. It's about social services. It's about, managing the financials. It's about investing. And it's about, providing a system to make sure that, work orders are taken care of, residents are responded to. And, Ken, to be honest, there was nobody else that came close to having the statistics in Springfield that Appleton did. So I do appreciate that, there's some concerns, but if I could share the matrix of kind of how we looked at this, we looked at things of time to respond to work orders, time to turn units, time to re-rent units, how their customer, and I went to sites, I met with property management teams, I did blind shopping. We sent somebody out to do secret shopping to some of our, some of their communities and all the rest of the communities. And if I had 1 out of 20 experiences that were negative from the secret shoppers and myself, that's probably an overstatement. But, compared to Dolbin and Beacon and Aimco and some of the smaller folks, it just was a completely different experience. It wasn't a very pleasant one. So I can imagine, it's important for us that the entire life cycle of a resident be a positive one, from the first time they call about an application to the time they move out, right? We hope they never move out, but I don't want somebody to move out and call me and say, hey, it's been 30 days. I've never got my security deposit back. So we spent 6 months researching it and testing it before we decided to make the switch. And, and they're also under some new leadership as well over the last couple of years. Matt Flink has been there for a couple of years and taken over. Paul has retired. Yeah, I would give them another chance. Yeah. I mean, I think just from our perspective, they have really shown that they are light years above other folks with infrastructure and people.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Any final questions or thoughts or comments?
And there's things that come up, please don't hesitate to send them to myself or Mike. So I know somebody has my email address. I'll put some really good data together for you on who will be living in the communities, what the rents will be. If you're ever looking for more information on how these deals are structured or, how these things are calculated, let me know. I'm happy to help. Because again, the more information you have, the easier my life is. For sure.
I know you mentioned this briefly, but what is your timeline again? You said you're maybe anywhere between 1 and 10 years for financing.
Well, no, 10 years was a worst case scenario. That was a project we just finished. But no, I mean, we're probably in 3 to 5 years. I mean, and the way this works is that, you have to submit a pre-application. We have to submit that in November, and we're going. And then you're selected to go into, the actual round sometimes next year. And then really the work starts. But, it's a solid 2 to 3 years to even get a conversation about, like, can you get the financing? Is it going to work? It's a very long process. Yep. I know that's probably not what Mike wants to hear, but we're trying to make it as least painful as possible.
Thank you.
So I think from what you need from us, right, is going to be a letter of support, probably for this, whatever you're applying for in November. So I guess I would like the housing partnership to take I think we should vote on that to authorize me to write the letter of support if folks are feeling ready to do that tonight, or if we want to have more conversation. I guess I'm just curious from members how they're feeling.
I feel ready to make a motion to write a letter of support. So I'll make the motion. So I made the motion. Sounds like Shira seconded.
Second that motion.
And a song. I like that.
All right. So I'm sorry. I had to write this out. Jackie made the motion. Shira seconded. All right. Are we ready to vote?
Do we have other discussion to make?
Any other discussion?
No, I feel ready to vote. Seems like a fantastic project.
Okay. All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Okay. Great. All right. So I guess, Rich, if you could, I can shoot you an email, but if you can just give me the particulars of, like, who you want a letter written to, and that would be really helpful to me, and then I can work on that.
Sure. Well, we appreciate the vote of confidence. I mean, we're super excited about it. And again, like, there's very few times that, I see something that I'm thinking, like, this is the perfect opportunity to do something great. And this is it. So thanks for the time. Appreciate being invited.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Right.
Okay, thank you all.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. I have to deal with an urgent work situation. So can you all move ahead on the agenda without me for about 5 minutes, and I will be right back.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is talking about the candidate forums. I did send some questions. I don't know. We should figure out if we need to. It's not a very contested race. So
yeah, I'm not even sure. Easthampton Dems, which I am the chair of, we're still in the process of figuring out what kind of candidate forum it makes sense to have. The only race that is contested is Precinct 5. That said, I think it's important to have the city councilors kind of talk about their views on things like affordable housing. So we're still in the process of trying to figure out how we can make something happen. I don't know if there's anything else scheduled from other groups to have any kind of forum besides the Easthampton Democrats, but has any of you have heard anything about that? No. Okay. And I didn't get a chance to see Jana's questions. Did you guys see the questions she sent? I can look at them right now.
Yeah, there were just a handful of questions from a previous forum, candidate forum. It looked like.
Cool. So why
Can you remind me who is in precinct 5 right now?
So Dan Rist is the current precinct 5 city councilor, but he is not running again. So Tamara Smith, who was a city councilor before, is running for precinct 5, and then Jared Hinkle, who also lives in precinct 5, obviously is running against her. So that's the only contested race at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And do we know anything about Tamara's views on affordable housing?
Yeah, Tamara's awesome.
Okay. Good
I
to know.
ran-
I
I
live in
ran-
Precinct 5.
I ran her campaign last time
Oh.
when she ran. So, you know, I definitely think she'll do a good job if she is the winner. I don't know much about Jared Hinkle at all, but
Well, it could be an opportunity to
Mhm.
learn more, I guess.
Facts. I'm meeting with our subcommittee for the Easthampton Dems to find out more about what we want to do for city council. So I will check back with this group when I have that. I can also just kind of email plans out to the group. As long as we don't discuss it, it's okay to email plans. Janet, do you want to say anything else about, I don't know, your thoughts?
I missed part of it, but so precinct 5 is contested. Is the at-large contested?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, there's only 4 candidates.
So
Yep.
Munier is not running again?
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And so you were saying that the Easthampton Democrats might do a forum, but you're not sure?
Yeah, we're doing a forum for the school committee because there's 10 people running for 6 spots. So that's happening on October 21st at the high school from 2 to 4. There will be more information about that forthcoming once things are more settled, but we hadn't landed on a plan for city council just because on the one hand, I think it's important, even if there aren't contested races, for folks to have to say what they believe in and support.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, are people really going to come out when there aren't contested races? So this is the dilemma.
Do you mean come out to vote or come out to?
Well, yeah,
stay
that too.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
come out to like an event where there's only one contested race and it's only a smaller portion of the overall community that's having a race that's contested.
Okay. I guess my only question is like, if we don't talk, if we don't want to do questions, that's fine. But I feel like this is our only opportunity because
Mm-hmm.
if we wait till October, it'll be too late, right? Because
Yep.
the election's in the beginning of November. So
Yes, it is.
I don't know if we want to have like a backup question in case we want to submit something, or in case, I don't know.
I think that makes sense. And also you could, I'm the person who's mainly working with the committee to plan anything that happens. So there's a housing question that's going to happen just from that. But if there's anything on the list, like let's look at the list Janice sent, and if there's anything specific.
So just a quick question.
Mhm.
Precinct 5 is
The Plains.
roughly the Plains, right?
Yep.
And by our zoning, I mean, I think we're limited to single family housing in that district. So,
Mhm.
I mean, there's probably not a lot. I guess yeah.
Well, if we propose zoning changes, we might want to know how that potential counselor would feel about those zoning changes.
Right. I mean, and that's sort of where it's going. We talked last time about trying to make duplex by right throughout the whole city. So those might be focusing on zoning related housing questions might be helpful.
Go ahead, Lindsay. Oh, you're muted.
Reporting live from the Big E parking lot. Sorry. I was just thinking about, city council candidates and something that would be valuable. And I would just ask that maybe like, if you do something like not Q&A format, but more of a way to create a discussion. So there's some back and forth. So you can really hear how people chew on things. I just find that when people just get like on talking, they kind of just have their talking points and it's kind of very repetitive. I'm thinking in as my teacher mindset, but I don't know if there's a way you could give some conversation pieces and just kind of let them go a little bit with some moderation.
Oh, yeah.
What if we invited the candidates to our next meeting for like a little forum housing summit thing?
Maybe educate them if they don't know on some of the projects coming down the line and where you're looking for support and how, and like what kind of commit, like try to, rather than, I'm just trying to avoid like people just like speaking their talking points on, you know, the right things to say and really actually having a substantive conversation where actually you guys have a lot to educate. This group has a lot that you can educate them about and just get them kind of on point. I don't know how to, I'm kind of still working through that, but I think it'd be a good idea if they came to the meeting and it was more like you were like kind of serving up the things on the platter and like, what ideas do they have to contribute to those ideas and how do they see shepherding those ideas?
I love that.
Alternatively to this meeting could also be the Housing Coalition. If that fits to your, I don't know what kind of outreach you get to that group now, but the Housing Partnership usually seems to be pretty much the Housing Partnership and few spectators.
Yeah, no, I definitely think, I mean, I'll definitely send out the invite because I think, one, just the information sharing, and if we're educating potential city councilors, like that information will be valuable for anyone. But yeah, I think there might be some interesting perspectives and questions that some of the coalition members could bring that we wouldn't think of.
Do you think it would make sense for the Easthampton Democrats and the Housing Coalition to sponsor an event that invites everyone to it? Is that what you were kind of suggesting, Jamie?
Yeah, because it gets around the whole open meeting law and
right, and quote
public meeting things,
yeah,
and then it could be seen as it's not like a government meeting.
Right.
It's outside of the
too many
city.
city councilors at our housing partnership meeting, it all of a sudden becomes like a city council meeting.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Would you do it in person or would you do it remotely?
What have you been doing for your coalition meetings, Kayam?
Coalition meetings have been remote, but I'm definitely open to doing something in person. And there seems to be like half and half people who like the flexibility of remote, but a couple people really want to do something in person. So
the forum for the school committee is in person. One of the things we're thinking about is having a laptop at one of the, so we're doing a speed networking kind of event where the candidates go from table to table and meet with smaller groups. And then at one of those tables, we're going to have a laptop so that people who need to join remotely can do that. And we're thinking that that would be broadcast on Easthampton Media, or we would record it for Easthampton Media. So I'm just saying that as a way to think through what it could look like. But maybe you and I can meet and like have a conversation about what might make sense and then just kind of report back. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. I love that idea though, and having it really be specific to housing, because that's it's such a huge issue right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking like, I was already doing a little bit of research of like trying to write some blurbs or like some statements about the history of exclusionary zoning and like why our zoning is how it is now. So I think that might be some interesting information to include. And yeah, I think that we could all pull together something really cool.
Excellent. All right, so I'll follow up with you, Kayam, and we'll make a plan.
Sounds good.
All right.
That sounds great. Okay. So we don't need, I mean, so sounds like the partnership does not really need to do anything else about that, or do we? No. Okay.
I think if you have thoughts about what you would want to ask, send them our way.
Okay.
And I like Lindsay. Lindsay, we might tap you as well. because you, having been as a former city councilor, I think, and as an educator, you'll have some good thoughts about how to do that. So I just deputized you.
Okay, sounds good. I'll think on it too. Because that's always something that frustrated me. I'll turn my video off because I'm driving, but it always frustrated me with some of the panels. Is
Everybody
just
says
like,
the same thing.
yeah, and I feel like that, counselors have full-time jobs, other jobs, they can't know about everything, and like what the most valuable piece is for this body to educate them and then see how they process that education, what they're going to do with it.
I like that idea. All right.
Great. Okay. Are we ready to move on? Okay.
I think so.
Do we want to talk about zoning tonight, or do we want to wait until October?
I haven't had a chance to look through what Jamie sent yet, but that's just me.
I haven't either.
So, I mean, I'm happy to just give the 10-second overview of what I sent out, and then people can take a look at it for the next meeting.
Okay.
But essentially what I did is I went through the zoning ordinance and pulled out all of the housing related sections. And then in those sections, I highlighted the pieces that talk about either community character or the number of units per building, or what else? The maximum number of units or multiple structures on a lot. There's a lot of places in the ordinance where these ideas kind of they're kind of repeated. So like you might see it under like planned unit development, you'll see that it says, more than one structure on a lot is permitted by the planning board. And then under the multifamily, it says more than one structure on a lot is only permitted by special permit. Or it'll say under multifamily, it'll say 18 unit maximum of 18 units per structure. And then under the planned unit development, it'll say if affordable housing is included, no more than 6 units per structure. So I tried to just kind of highlight all of those types of things that we were talking about at the last meeting, or I guess 2 meetings ago. So you all don't have to search through it to find where that is. But also keep in mind that like the sections preceding or following where I've highlighted are kind of relevant to how that gets interpreted. So for instance, like in a couple of the sections I highlighted under like the purposes and intent of that ordinance, where it'll talk about like maintaining community character, but nowhere in the ordinance itself does it reference community character as being a criteria for approval or something that might be viewed as part of the permitting process, or in some cases it does. So just sort of keeping in mind, it's not just the highlighted sections that you want to look at, but it's kind of just trying to give that context and focus as to where to look.
And quick question, are there pages removed from this PDF? Is it just the relevant stuff?
Yeah, the whole ordinance is about 300 pages.
Okay.
So the document I sent was like, I don't know, 50 pages?
68 pages, Jamie.
68.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that work, though. That's a lot.
Yeah, it only took like 2 hours because I knew where to look. So, but yeah, so when you're looking through, if you just kind of keep your eyes peeled for the yellow highlighted sections, that should kind of clue you in. And, reading a little bit before and after, if that's helpful. I guess it is a lot to go through. And if we're being honest about like the parts of the ordinance that are most heavily used, it's like looking at the special permits, site plan approval, and like the multifamily sections of the ordinance. Like I don't know if we've permitted a planned unit development or mix or like an open space residential development. So like whether or not we want to focus on those sections that we don't really use is up to the partnership. There might be ideas for how to make those sections more usable. For instance, if
consistent, it sounds like there's inconsistencies in there, right?
There are, but they don't often, like the open space residential development's kind of standalone section of the ordinance. So it's inconsistent with other sections of the ordinance. But if you were to try to use the open space residential development, like you need a special permit from the planning board to do an OSRD. Why are you going to do that if you can do just a regular multifamily development by site plan approval if it has 15% minimum affordable housing? So like, if we were trying to prioritize getting the OSRD section used, we might want to look at like changing the permitting pathways for that, but that wasn't really what we were talking about previously.
Okay. So maybe we look at it for next time because it is a lot.
Yeah. But I might suggest just focusing for next time on like the table of uses and like the multifamily sections.
Okay. I apologize. I have a dog who's over me being on the computer. And my very helpful 14-year-old came downstairs and was like, and like went back up.
Show us your dog. I'll show you the bird.
I went here. She got heavy. I can't like just pick her up. Here, look.
That happens.
Hello.
Oh, so cute. What a cute fluffer.
That's you. Okay.
There's Benny's behind.
I'm distracted. All right, so we'll focus on that for October. She's also biting me. Do we have, I don't think we have anything else, do we?
Nope.
We can adjourn. It's
Yep.
6:59.
Motion.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Seconded? All right. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.